Well, hello friends, David Vos here, and it's a beautiful day in Oklahoma. It is so beautiful. The clouds are moving in, the wind's blowing a bit, and it's going to rain. I got the roof all finished, so not too worried about it, and just sitting here relaxing. Worked all day getting some wood and stuff going and putting up a couple, pieces of wood here and there and fixing on my cabin. So I got kind of done with everything I needed to do and covered the generator and stuff, getting ready for the rain, and turned on the news. And they're still talking about impeachment. And I was struck immediately with how absolutely ridiculous it is. I mean, we said that last time. I mean, I guess I could just put this down and say that there's really nothing else to report because our government's gone insane. They've gone stark raving mad. There's no law and order at all. It is a farce. Everything that is going on is a complete farce. And, to give you a little idea of just how ridiculous and farcical it all is, and how these guys are just liars, let me tell you this way. Today, this guy, Zondervan, or whatever his name is, or I don't even know his name. It doesn't even matter to me, because I'm not going to even try to remember it, because this is going to be here today and gone tomorrow, and I don't care who this person is anyway. But as all of you know, there was a couple of people that testified today. Now, here's how the news, even Fox News, here's how they covered it. Oh, that's it. Trump's done. Right? Because this was a good day for the Democrats. Good day for Adam Schiff because this Zondervan or whatever his name is, he said that he believed there was a quid pro quo. Period. Done. It's over. Excuse me. His testimony in his opening statement was something to that effect. But if you actually look at the testimony, it's what he felt. That's what he believed. That's what he interpreted it. However, when pressed, they asked him, what did the president tell you? Exactly in his own words. And he said that the president said, I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. He says, what do you want me to tell him, Mr. President? What do you want me to tell him? I hear all these rumors. I hear this and I hear that, and I just want to know from your own mouth, what do you want? The president says, I want no quid pro quo. I want nothing. He said that twice. Now, go do the right thing. Tell him to do the right thing, he says. So instead of saying, oh, that's it, it's over. Because you see, it's supposed to be a trial. It's not, but it's supposed to be a legal hearing, right? And but of course it's not, because he doesn't get to have his lawyers there present. He doesn't get to call witnesses or cross-examine them, or it's ridiculous. It's not a hearing. It's a farce. But in a hearing, if that's what they think it is, you have to go by the facts, not about feelings, not about I believed or I thought, or like you could, if let's say you had a hearing about, they took you to court and said you murdered somebody. And some guy gets on the stand and says, yeah, I believe that he murdered somebody. I say, well, excuse me, we're not here to ask you about your opinions. What we need is proof. Do you have any proof that he was going to murder someone or attempted to murder, excuse me, attempted to murder someone or threatened to murder, anything? Do you have any evidence? Witnesses, recordings, eyewitness testimony? Okay, this guy that testified today was the eyewitness testimony, and he said that the president said, I mean, everybody else is saying the same thing, but this was their star witness, and he said, this is what the president said. I don't want any quid pro quo. That means there's no bribery. That's the same thing. Well, I mean, yesterday they were asking people, was there any bribery? And they're all saying, no, there has not been any bribery. Everyone who testified said there was no bribery, no extortion, and no quid pro quo. So instead of leading on Fox News, Dana, she was on there saying, oh, well, this is a pretty good day for the Democrats. I don't get what they're, Ken Starr came on and said, originally he started off the day saying, oh, it's a good day for the Democrats. And then Ken Starr came back on and said, oh, well, then, I don't know why he didn't lead with that. He just led with his feelings. But see, the question is, Ken Starr is supposed to be this great, amazing lawyer, attorney, or whatever. The one that prosecuted Clinton for impeachment. And so he's supposed to be so amazing. He's got so many years of experience. It's kind of like Mueller, right? Wouldn't you think that he would have noticed that somebody's opinion is not a fact? Look, the thing of it is, we've already determined that all of these witnesses are against Trump, never Trumpers, they hate Trump. It doesn't matter what they say. It matters what they do. And I think, so they're never Trumpers, they hate Trump, then it doesn't matter what they say, they got to give proof. Your enemy comes up and says, he did this, that, and your thing. Okay, but prove it. That's all that matters in a court of law. And we got the proof today. The eyewitness said there was no quid pro quo. And that rhymes, so it's got to be true. But if that wasn't the big story, and it probably will wind down to be the big story, they'll probably have to admit that that's it and it's over, right? But for now, they're trying to spin it. Oh, let's see if we can get some more traction out of this. And we got more, hearings to show, and more drama and more Hollywood crap to show the public. And, it's no longer a media, it's a free press or anything like that. It's simply propaganda. This has already been brought out that CNN is literally government propaganda, or the deep state propaganda. But if that wasn't the big story, that there's no quid pro quo, that should be it, because that ends the whole trial. But what is even more interesting, perhaps, is yesterday's testimony where, and this wasn't even hardly covered, where this Venderman, or whatever his name was, dressed up in all this lieutenant colonial garb or whatever. He's not even in the army right now. He's not in the military. He's not, he doesn't run around wearing that garb, right? He wears a suit and tie at work. But he wanted to be addressed as lieutenant or whatever his rank is, And, but anyway, during that testimony, it was revealed that instead of going to his chain of command, because supposedly he thought there was something troubling in that call. He was listening in on that call, and it was just troubling. Oh, it was just troubling. He was so concerned. And it was just startling. It was, oh my goodness. So, all right, in his instructions, as per his job, he's supposed to go to his chain of command if he has something he wants to report. Well, he didn't go to his chain of command, which would have been Morrison, another guy that testified, in favor of Trump. But he didn't go to it. He bypassed Morrison. Isn't that weird? Because Morrison's on Trump's side. So he bypasses him and goes to his brother. They look identical. They're identical twins. His lawyer. His brother's a lawyer. And he goes to another person that Adam Schiff refuses to allow anyone to know his name. He's not allowed to say his name. Now remember, Adam Schiff doesn't know who the whistleblower is he testified to. Or well, he said, anyway. So, in other words, he lied a couple of different times, but this is a big one. Because Adam Schiff said he didn't know who the whistleblower is. Well, and then somebody asked him, well, if you don't know who the whistleblower is, and we don't know who the whistleblower is, then how can anybody out the whistleblower if none of us know who he is? And if we did say his name, how would you stop us from saying his name since you don't know who he is either? Well, obviously that's ridiculous. So that's exactly what happened yesterday. This Venderman guy started to say the guy's name, and Adam Schiff said, no, you can't reveal the whistleblower's name. So he just outed him himself. He just said that the other guy that he went to, instead of the chain of command, Morrison, he just admitted that that person is the whistleblower and he knows who he is. And he also uncovered something else very interesting. Not only did he make it very plain that he lied, Adam Schiff lied, but he also made it very plain that it's a big ruse. It's a big, complete hoax, this whole thing. Because the guy that was really the whistleblower was the guy that testified, Venderman, that wants to be known as colonial lieutenant or whatever, right? He says, he testified, he thought he was the sole person who was, in charge of the Ukraine or whatever, and they cross-examined him a little bit and found out that he really wasn't. It was several people above him, And so what we found out, though, is that this guy is the one who listened in on the call. He's the one that told the whistleblower. Instead of going to his chain of command, he went straight to the whistleblower, who may either be his brother. Well, no, it's not his brother. He went to his brother and the whistleblower, and they went to Adam Schiff and collaborated. And so Adam Schiff is a material witness in all of this and collaborated with the whistleblower, was never in on the call. Is somebody they don't want us to know who he is because he was involved with Biden and the DNC. So this is by the way, I don't know if you know it, but Mr. Adam Schiff, I don't know how to tell you this. I'm going to have to be very careful about this. Let me put it this way. You all know that George Soros is backing all of these groups that are trying to tear down the United States, like Acorn and Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and on and on and on and on. He's financed all the lawsuits against the president and paid people to come, testify that Trump did some terrible thing and it was all lies. And he's financed Pelosi. He finances all these senators and Romney and everybody else, and they work for him. Well, George Soros' son is Robert Soros, and he is married to Melissa Schiff. They're all related. Schiff is related by blood to Soros and married into that same extended family. The Schiffs and the Soroses go back to the Levis and the Cohens, all the way back to Amsterdam and the old country, as does Soros, and they're all related. You have to understand, way back when this particular family got all the money in the world, as they died, they divvied it up to their children. Same thing at the Walmart, the Waltons did. See, Waltons divided up all of his wealth and his fortune, but amongst his brothers, his children, his sons and daughters, and probably some aunts and stuff. And so each one of these Waltons have about $50 billion. Together, they've got hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. They're the richest family in the world. Well, except for this other family that is much richer and much larger. And they have people in government all over the world, whether it be in the media. They have people that, run media. We talked about, they're related to the Weinsteins, the Feinsteins, and the Epsteins, and the Einsteins, all these people, and the Bergs, and the Silverbergs, and the Rosenbergs, and there's a lot of Bergs, too. And these are all some of their names. They're all related, and they keep it in the family, and they marry. So what's very odd is this particular family is trying to take down the president because the president is trying to get rid of corruption, and that's how they stay on top. That's how they run the world, through corruption. They get money. And so if the president is able to dry up their source of money and their income, then their hundreds of billions of dollars will dwindle down to tens of billions and then to nothing pretty soon. And you see, the president's not just trying to dry up their money source, but he's also trying to dry up their sources to make the money, like the wars. He's not going to allow our government to go to some frivolous war. They don't like that. They want him to go into Syria, and they didn't want him to stop the corruption in Ukraine because that's how they're making a lot of money there. Pelosi's son, Mitt Romney's son, Kerry's son, they're all over there on the oil and gas boards making millions and millions of dollars for doing nothing, which is all being paid out by the taxpayer of the United States. All Americans pay taxes, and that money goes to this aid, foreign aid. Why are we giving all these countries billions of dollars when we've got people on the street that don't have anything? Right? We talk about in this country, we should have reparations for the African American. Okay, I would much rather do that, which I'm not in favor of that. I would much rather do that than billions and billions of dollars in foreign aid to countries that hate our guts and that are trying to bring down the presidency. If you notice today, or it was yesterday, Jordan says, you know, some of the Republicans that are cross-examining the witnesses, they have a little press meeting afterwards, and they give their take on what happened and so forth. Well, yesterday, it's pretty interesting. Some of the things that you know, they'll say things that it's so clear and concise about what's going on, and nobody's getting it at all. So Jim Jordan and these guys were doing their press meeting, and they say the press has been spreading this information, several pieces of information that are not accurate. And they said, number one, the press keeps saying that this was a conspiracy theory, that Trump was worried about Burisma, that there's nothing wrong with Burisma, and everything that Biden did was up and up. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is true. It was very corrupt. Number two, they're saying it's a conspiracy theory that Trump has, is that this whole thing got started in Ukraine. Election tampering. In our elections, they were tampering. He says that's not a conspiracy theory. That is a fact. And there is lots of evidence, but see, the Democrats and CNN and MSNBC don't want you to know, because see, they want it to divert your mind. They keep promoting this idea that it's this Russians that was trying to bring down the election, and that somehow Trump was involved and he was colluding and all this stuff. It's a big lie. So the press is actively participating in conspiracies, lies, and subterfuge. Even though, and thank goodness, you know, this is what I see. I see that this is all par for the course. It had to happen, and I'm glad that it did. Everything that happened in this impeachment trial, because these criminals, if they hadn't pushed it, probably could have got away with most of it. Do you realize they probably would have kept on going, and Trump wouldn't even have probably known. He probably wouldn't even know what's really going on. The average person can't figure out how the elite billionaires keep making these billions. I mean, we know there's lobbying and we know this and that, but we really don't understand the bureaucracy is filled. All the seats in our bureaucracy, which is why it keeps getting bigger, is being filled by, you know, David, my other brother David. You know, remember that Bob Newton? What is his name? I can't remember. That old show that Bob Newson or Newpin. I don't even remember now. Anyway, there was a funny TV series that used to be on television, and this sort of a hick that lived down the street would come and knock on the door, and he'd say, "Hi, I'm David, and this is my other brother David." You know, anyway, these guys are crazy, and they're promoting lies and corruption, and the bureaucracy is filled by everybody and their brother. They're all related. I've said it over and over again. Pelosi is related to the Newsoms. Gavin Newsom is the governor of California. Nancy Pelosi lives in the same district as Silicon Valley, and her constituents, who she represents, is the great big billionaires such as Google, Facebook. And as I've said, Facebook is not, you know, this Zuckerberg is another Berg. He's just a kid. He did not invent Facebook. He doesn't know how to write code well enough to to create this thing. He's a front man, just as the people who run Google and all this stuff. And as I've said other times before, Google would not even exist if it weren't for the satellites. That's how we have maps. They know how to, GPS and all this stuff. And our phone has to have the satellites. So this company, the phone company, or Google, or the internet, wouldn't exist without the satellite, which is what our CIA and NASA did back in the 60s and 70s. And they put these satellites in the air. We funded it. We are the taxpayer. And then as soon as they got done with the satellites and put them up in the air and created this thing called Google, they simply gave the satellites to Google. So in reality, Google is not. Now, see, why would the government do that? Because though it sounds like it's a corporation, Google, Yahoo and all, eBay and PayPal and you could go on and on and on, and Walmart and everything. None of these are actual businesses anymore. All these corporations own and control our government. They are the government. And they've set up a way to monitor us. And when you're on your phone, they hear everything you say. I was looking at generators the other day, and now all I get nonstop is generator commercials when I look at YouTube. See, I didn't even know that. I thought that these guys would put their commercials on somebody's video, and that's the commercial that would be on that video, no matter who watched it. But it depends on who's watching the video. If you're watching my video, you're going to see different commercials, depending on what your activity has been. They know everything you're buying, everything you're saying. They know your bank account. They know the drugs you're taking, your medical history. They know everything you say. So if you start talking about something, you're going to do something to them or hurt them or anything like that, they hear you. Literally, they hear you. Now, it may not get back. It's all algorithms. So certain words are triggered. If you say a certain word, it's triggered. It goes into the system, and they might have a knock on your door. I'm not kidding you. Our government, you see, the presidency is just. Look, they don't even need the presidency. That's just a puppet. But they do need senators and the presidents. They need that too. But the way that, these people are all basically, the government's just a byproduct of how they get their way. Because they have to have people that lobby Congress and give them billions of dollars and buy and purchase the senators. So it's the billionaires that make the policies. They write it on a piece of paper and they tell the senators what to vote on and what to do. So they need both. They need the whole thing. But when you get a president in there that's it's got a policy that they don't like. It's against their policy, what he's doing in the Ukraine. It's against their policy. That's American United States policy. He's going against it. No. United States policy, foreign policy, is the sole, the president, it's his sole pleasure. He's the one who makes policy. And they know that. That's legal, but they keep saying it in this testimony, this impeachment hearing. They keep saying, the reason why I raised a red flag to me when I heard that phone call is it was against United States policy. And then they would ask him, the Republicans would come on and say, excuse me, but who makes policy? What policy are you talking about? Well, I wrote down what he was supposed to say on that call, Vindeman said. I'm the one who wrote it, and he didn't follow my script. So that made me mad. Because he started talking about corruption and getting rid of my friends and their money. And, of course, that money trickles down to me and my friends. And the whistleblower's my friend. And, we're all really upset. And Adam Schiff's our brother, and Soros, and all of this. And we've got all these bureaucratic people in power all over the world and all over the governments. In every country, everywhere. And we're all really, really concerned because he's drying up our reserves. That's it. That's the whole problem, friends. That if you don't believe Trump's doing a good thing, please consider why they hate him so much. And consider for a moment just why you've heard all the testimony, and yet you still, in your own little mind, are trying to figure a way why you don't believe it. Like, well, that's what they said, but I don't believe it. Trump's got to be a bad guy, even though there's no proof. See, why is it you keep doing that? Something's wrong there. And like I said, the news is doing the same thing. It doesn't matter what they say. They could. Hey, before today, I could have said, well, if their star witness comes on and says there's no quid pro quo and there's no bribery and there's no extortion, then it would be over. But that's not going to happen, right? Well, it did. It happened today, and they still don't care. See, they're still going by the testimony of what did you feel? How did it make you feel? Do you need a little rest? Do you need a break? Don't cry. And this makes me feel terrible because my friends and my family were making money and he's drying up all of our money and I don't like it. It's not our policy and I write the policy. Wait a minute. Doesn't the president write the policy? Yeah, but it's never been that before in history that presidents actually take an active role and actually have a brain and go against us. The leader of the United States is the billionaires and you're supposed to do what we say. Anyway, friends, that's what I got to say about it today. I'm going to go ahead and go and sit here and enjoy the evening and have maybe a glass of wine and just listen to the leaves fall, play with my puppies, and try to forget this whole thing. So, I hope you guys all have a great evening. And this is David Vos. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good one.